I'm glad to say that we won this race, and I'm headed to the Supreme Court. Tonight we proved that when the people rise up and stand together, we can beat the special interests. We beat the NRA. We beat the millions of dollars that were spent on this race flooding into our state.
That was Rebecca Dallet in her victory speech last night, and Rebecca Dallet joins us now from Wisconsin, having been elected to a 10-year term on the Wisconsin State Supreme Court. Thank you very much for joining us tonight on your first national interview about this. And I just wanted to get into the role the NRA played in this campaign, and what were you saying about it, and what was your opponent saying about it?
Well, thank you, Laurence, for having me. My opponent was endorsed by the NRA within 24 hours of the Parkland shooting, and I believe that caused a lot of national attention to be drawn to this race. When we talk about the NRA right now, and as a parent of 3 daughters in high school and college, we talk about families like mine being afraid of having their kids in school. And my opponent vowed to protect the firearm freedoms of the NRA. They sent out mailers to that effect, and I think Wisconsinites were very concerned with that.
And as a political matter in Wisconsin, what were the risks for you in taking on the NRA?
Well, we have had a situation in Wisconsin for the last decade, the years that I've been a judge, where we've had special interest money pouring into these Supreme Court races, and money like groups like the NRA and other business lobbies and other groups. And that money has been buying justice or a justice. We've then had Supreme Court justices like the one I announced against, Justice Gableman, sitting on cases that involve parties that spent that money and refusing to step off of those cases, and then ruling in the favor of those groups that spent the money. Wisconsinites have seen that this isn't fair, and they've lost confidence in our courts. And I think this win was a win for Wisconsin and a win against special interests like the NRA trying to buy our courts.
You also had some outside help from Eric Holder and PACs that he was organized and supporting. How important was that in your win?
Well, I was grateful to have help of groups like the Eric Holder's group. The difference between me and my opponent, I made the statement and the promise to the voters that any group that spends money significantly on my race, I will not hear the cases involving those groups should they come in front of the court. And I think that's a big difference of what means we're going to have fair and independent courts in the eyes of the voters. And
this is a 10-year term, and so you're going to be wielding influence on that court for a long time to come. This is what makes it such an important race. And at what point did you feel? Let me put it this way: did you know you were going to go over the top by 12 points? Well, it's hard to know. I knew that going around the state, my message really resonated with voters, and I traveled our state far and wide since June 1st, and my message was one of experience. I've worked in our courts for more than 23 years, standing up for victims in some of the toughest cases of rape and child abuse, both as a prosecutor and a judge. And I spoke out against the special interests that have really bought our courts or appeared to buy our courts for the last decade. The message really resonated with voters, and I was certainly hopeful that they would turn out, which they did in great numbers last night. What would you say to Democrats who are concerned about standing up to the NRA in some of their districts, some of their congressional districts around the country? Some of them want to, but feel that it might be too politically risky. Well, I think that we all need to talk about fairness and independence especially in our courts. And when we have special interest money
that is influencing and taking the place of the people. We all need to stand up to that. We've seen in this country, as we all know, this real interest on the part of our young people. And one of my daughters helped lead the walkout at her school. I participated in the March for Our Lives with one of my other daughters. We've seen a real interest taken in safety and gun violence prevention. It's a national conversation that I think everyone needs to be a part of.
Wisconsin State Supreme Court Justice-elect Rebecca Dallet, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.